Look at plants and plants and plants, plants on cages. More plants. Singapore has become known for its plants, and sadly, though I'm not going to be bringing home any plants on this trip, I really wanted to go check out their nurseries to see if they had anything interesting and unique that we don't have in the States. So I decided to come here to World Farm, which is their largest garden center. So let's go see what they have inside. So it looks like they just got a shipment in of all these calatheas, and it's my understanding that World Farm is really a hub and a central point where they're bringing in plants from all over Malaysia. This is a huge Ficus elastica. I'm just curious on the price. All right, well, this is $45 Singaporean dollars. That's like an insane price because this would typically go for hundreds of dollars in the States, at least this size. Let alone, I have no idea how much these Scheffleras are, but they are massive, and I'm sure they are a lot cheaper than I am used to. So this one is a really nice cultivar. I think this is Philodendron Pluto Red, and this is just like 65 Singaporean dollars, which is not bad. This I would think is a Philodendron Warson Whiskey-eye, but they're calling it the shrimp species. I don't know if that is a cultivar or if it's just the common name that they're using for that philodendron. These are really awesome. You don't really find them as frequently as you do in the United States. Maybe they're more common here in Asia. Dieffenbachias, some really tall Dracaenas, a huge Pachira aquatica. It's gonna take mine years to get this tall. So it looks like they have a bunch of orchids here and quite a bit of aroids. This one is an interesting one, Peperomia pinnatum. This has some really lovely fenestrations happening here. You don't really see this as commonly in the States. You could get them, but it's usually typically a little bit smaller, and they'll go for a way bigger price point than that $12 mark. I see a really cute one down here. Everywhere I look, it makes me think of Kippy. These are beautiful. They have all these Dischidias, which are really cool plants. Like, they're very similar, I think, in care to Hoyas, but here I see them growing all the time on trees. Look at this one's even flowering. We've got some more Dieffenbachias. These are another type of Dracaenas. Goldcephianas, I believe they are. They grow very differently from the other Dracaenas. Very nice plants. These are nice and robust. See some really cool plants over here. This looks like a really cool anthurium of sorts. Yeah, I'm not quite sure even what kind this is because it's not listed, but wow, I mean, look at that leaf. And I think that this would be a really good houseplant because it's got that thickness of leaf. That is a hardy looking plant. Some Alocasia amazonicas. I mean, this might be the wholesale price because $6 is a steal for these. And these are Caladium lindenii, I believe. They're not listed on here, but you don't really see this kind of species in the US as much any longer. Now and again, but not super common, but there's just a whole flat of them here. It probably means because they grow really well outdoors as well. I mean, we're in a completely different climate than, you know, some of this, what we have in the United States. And these are some of my favorite Dischidias. These are Dischidia ruscifolias. They have a really lovely shape to their leaves. Why don't we go check out the other section, because we're not going to get a chance to look at it all, but I'll highlight some of the best ones that I've seen. This is pretty clever because they have their Pilea peperomioides right next to their Peperomia polybatria. And these two plants are very similar. They're obviously in different genera, but they have very similar structures within their leaves and their petioles. They're pretty succulent and they have a peltate leaf, which means it's a little bit more shield shape. So I think it's clever that they're putting these side by side so you could actually do a side by side comparison. And these are absolutely amazing Alocasias. I mean, they are just starting to hit the United States. These, I think, are green dragons. They have this really thick shield-shaped leaf. I would imagine that these are amazing cultivars for indoors, although I'm not growing any of these in particular. These are nice. These look like a variegated calumnia. Super cool plants. And then this is a Peperomia tetragona, but it is right next to this one, which looks like a little bit more of a prolific grower. Very similar look of the whorled leaves around the stem, but I am not quite sure what this species is, or cultivar, if it's a cultivar, because it doesn't have any name on it either. But you can see the Peperomia tetragona has a little bit more of a pinstripe look, which is, this is a little bit more faint. Some interesting succulents back there, but I also see the Ludicea discolor, which, you know, was actually quite popular for a long time. Now these are looking a little bit more reasonable in price here. $15 is, I think, what you typically would expect to pay for these. I see one of my favorite plants in here. This doesn't have a name on it, it looks like, but these are Signoniums, erythrophyllums. See the red bottoms and the dark green tops? Very easy houseplant to grow indoors. Doesn't require a tremendous amount of light. It's right next to a Nepenthes, which is kind of a very different climate that these guys need. Some cool Peperomia scandens, Variegata. These make great hanging basket plants as well, as they start to droop and get very long if you don't clip them back. Aschenanthus. This is a beautiful one. It looks like it's about to bloom with this pink bloom. Much more succulent leaves than I'm accustomed to with my Aschenanthus, but it looks like they have lots of different varieties here. They have some more over here. Like this one, I'm pretty sure that this is also still an Aschenanthus, unless it's like a type of calumnia, but you'll see the lipstick plant in bloom here. Really beautiful blooms. I want to say it's an ever bloomer, but like, you know, for me it always seems to be in bloom, although they're not blooming consecutively all at once. Super cool. So I saw a sign for aquatic plants, and I thought they'd be more aquatic plants that are actually like you could live in a terrarium. But these are probably what they're talking about. This is a Dracaena thaliodes, which I do have one at home. It really likes to have some wet feet. I quite like it as a plant. It's pretty sturdy, and it kind of reminds me a little bit more like Calathea leaves or Stromanthe leaves. And then this Alocasia macrorhizos is a huge one. You often see it in a more aquatic situation as well. I love these ferns. These are Nephrolepis Susie Wong's, I believe. So it's a type of cultivar. Super lacy foliage right here. It's actually a slightly challenging plant to work with because it likes to remain moist. Not at all times. If you give it too wet of feet, then it's probably going to get mushy and die back. But this is a great cultivar, and it's a much lighter shade than a lot of ferns, so it really pops out a wall if you're kind of putting it there or in a darker space. Monstera deliciosas, of course, looking like some new leaves are unfurling. So one of my favorite families is the Marantaceae. I've actually done a care tip video on the Marantaceae family. You could see Stromanthe stromathoides right here, which is a full-on colorful plant. These look a little beat up, but honestly, that's kind of how they look after a while. But look at that kind of color, and they look red underneath. When these hit the light, you get the red streaming through some of the white above on the upper epidermis, and you really can't beat that look of a plant, especially for the color patterns. Very happy to see all of these. This is a Makoyana. These are very cool again. Very common to find these now all of a sudden. And here are some in bloom. some more calatheas. And it's very characteristic of a lot of calatheas to have these really dark purple or reddish undersides. This is for them to kind of bounce that light back up into the back into the first epidermal layers. They're understory plants, so they don't require direct light. In fact, if you give them direct light in the home, they will often start to burn along the edges or get necrotic spots all throughout the plant. So you want to keep up the humidity with these particular varieties. Oh my goodness, look at these Schezerianums. So these are really cool anthuriums. You don't really find these in the houseplant market in the United States. What makes these really cool is these bracts, and these have these spates that have these really curly Q look to them. So you can see how it starts to twist and turn. It's super cute. It looks like they have developed ones with all different kinds of bract colors. And maybe this is not technically cultivars, but they're just different variants. Look at that. That is just so adorable. Bird's nest ferns. For people who love ferns, these are some of the easier ferns to actually take care of. This one looks like it has some new leaves coming in. And if you touch and you feel this plant, you'll see that it has a thicker leaf. And oftentimes, you know, it's not a total rule of thumb, but a lot of times thicker leaves mean that it's a less sensitive plant compared to really dainty leaves. Especially like that Nephrolepis we saw back there, that is that really lacy Susie Wong cultivar. Stealing a whiff of basil here. This one is a good plant to grow if you have some sunlight. This is an elephant bush plant. They also do a variegated version that's out there. Very hardy plants, and you could even cut them back and they'll start to branch out even some more. So this is a type of euphorbia, so it gives this latexy resin. So if I'm to break one of these plants, you see this white latex come out. Now, this could be pretty toxic, so you wouldn't want to get that in your eye or anything along those lines. So be sure to wash your hands if you ever break a euphorbia or if you're trying to propagate it. Just be known that it can cause you some damage. But otherwise, it's an excellent house plant. They are a little thorny, as you could see. This is kind of like the cacti of Madagascar, even though they aren't in the Cactaceae family. But they get these really colorful bracts, as you could see. And it looks like they have all these different varieties here that they have yellow, pink, like pink with yellow. But if you look really closely, that little yellow inflorescence in the middle is the actual flower. So these bracts were designed to attract insects to come down and alight on them so they could actually get pollinated by their insect pollinators. Really cool to see that, because just like the anthurium, that bract is not the inflorescence. So, but it gives you still that color all year round. Here's some crotons. I think a lot of people love crotons. Crotons actually didn't start off as variegated, but to my understanding, in Indonesia, there was this variegation that happened, I think because of a viral disease within the crotons. And they really liked that color, so they ended up selecting for it. So even though these plants never started off variegated, you usually only find them variegated in all sorts of different ways. You can even see here that this is variegated with like kind of curly Q leaves. This one as well has some curly Q leaves with some yellow spots. I find these to be more of challenging plants to grow in the home, only because I just don't have that harsh direct light that a lot of these require. Whenever I go to places like Costa Rica or whatever, they're always along the roadsides and bright light. Now this is one I've never seen before, and it is super cool because it reminds me of a Nepenthes, because it has this little tendril that's coming out, and it has like a leaf tendril and a leaf. I've absolutely never seen anything like this. This is super cool. And I don't think this is not a carnivorous plant at all. This is a type of croton. It's one of a kind here. I don't even see another one like it. Oh, there's some more back there. But this one is super cool. I think this would really do well in the States. So I know we only touched the tip of the iceberg here at World Farm, but I just wanted to get a few selections for you to give you a sense of what they have here. I hope you really liked that episode. If you want to subscribe to this channel, then make sure to plant your finger on the button. And also, if you want to follow along on my personal journey, you could do so on my blog at homesteadbrooklyn.com and on my Instagram at homesteadbrooklyn. See you guys next week. Interested in developing a deeper relationship with the people and plants around you? Then check out my book, How to Make a Plant Love You. Cultivate green space in your home and heart. Bring the book to select plant shops and get 15% off with the Plant Shop Pub Crawl. More information up on my blog at homesteadbrooklyn.com. And if you're looking for more tactical plant care, then you could turn to the Houseplant Masterclass, which is the first online audiovisual course on houseplant cultivation, care, maintenance, and more at houseplantmasterclass.com.